working in an area where you don't really see someone that looks like you, it's kind of hard not to kind of like put on a face and like try to be someone else just so you're a bit more relatable.
Happy? Happy!
Nervous energy.
Shake it up. How would you describe like what your current role is and what you do?
My current role at the moment is lead teacher at Inspiral Dev Academy.
I grew up in the church, and when I told my family at the church that I was a developer evangelist, developer went out the door, evangelist set the place on fire.
I'm a web designer, so I create beautiful digital experiences, beautiful websites that you've probably visited.
So I'm a site reliability engineer, which means I keep websites online and functional.
Everything should be up and running, reliable and secure.
Like a teenager, what were you imagining yourself doing, being?
Well, as a teenager, I imagined that I would do the complete opposite of what my parents said. So my parents said, you'd be great at tech. And I went, haha, never gonna do it.
I was living in Greyland before it was gentrified and bougie, apart from this one house. And it was at the top of the street, and it was the biggest house. And I asked my mum, I was like, what does he do? She's like, he's a brain surgeon. So I was like, sweet, I'm gonna be a neurosurgeon. That's exactly what I'm gonna do because I can get a big house and I can look after my mum.
I started in art school, going to art school for photography, and then I smoked a lot of weed and I was failing all my classes. So one day I took a walk to the mall and I spoke with an army recruiter and I joined the military. And my job that I got in the military was IT. So I configured switches and routers, I learned binary, and I did that for a few years before I got an office job in tech.
But the way I got into tech and development is that I just really liked this company. So I turned up at their doorstep and said, I'll do any work you want. I just really like the work you do. And I was lucky because they gave me a developer role. And so.
How would you describe what you wanted to do when you were a teenager?
I was like, oh, I have no idea what to do. I like playing games, therefore computer science must be exactly the same thing. So I did computer science at uni and actually found writing code really fun.
When I was, I think, 14, 15, I wanted to join Indian Air Force. But it's a big no-no because it's a very male-dominated and my father would not allow it.
I really want to do ICT as a career, but at the time there was a lot of bias around girls in tech, so a lot of people were just kind of like mocking the situation and then telling me that it's not for you, you don't belong. So I dropped ICT, which was a shame because at the time I didn't actually have the confidence and self-esteem to see it through that I need to just do what I love.
So my closest friends when I was younger were all boys, and they went to a boys' school and I went to a girls' school. And so they did programming in class and I didn't, and I was like, well, that's bullshit. I want to do that too, so I just started doing it in my own time at high school, and then I picked it up from there. So it was really just because I like computer games too. Why can't I do computer science?
I don't think I really dreamed of like labor per se.
What's your role and how would you describe what you do?
My day-to-day is just pretty much fixing broken stuff and building like new tools. So I'm just in code.
At the moment, marrying the product, the 3D printing and the work that I do.
I'm basically a senior sales engineer, so I work for Cisco. And what I do is I'd like to think I solve problems for people.
I'm a project manager, and the easiest way to describe that is herding cats and cows and sheep that do not want to be herded at all.
So at the moment, I am a director of Women in Tech at Auckland University of Technology and also senior lecturer in the School of Engineering, Computer Mathematical Sciences.
So when someone asks you, like, what do you do? What's your title? What's your description? Like, how would you describe what you do?
Well, I run an organisation that provides a home and support for early stage deep technology startups.
What were you into when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, when I watch movies, I see the black screen running a lot of script, and that was like my inspiration. I really loved that.
When people would ask me, I'd say I just want to be happy, which is so naff, but I never knew, and I still don't really know.
Oh my gosh, so before my love for technology, I was heavily involved in the science area. So I've always girl, I was like that titration queen.
I went onto a film set really, and fortunate enough to meet some people and go, oh, be quite interested, that actually sparked my interest. And then discovered audio. That really woke me up. I was like, yeah, I was excited.
And there were two reasons I couldn't become an astronaut. One was because I get terribly motion sick, so that's not going to work. And the other reason, of course, was because I was a woman. But somehow, because computers happened in the 80s, if you know what I mean, nobody had sort of got their head around computers enough to say women can't do that. It's like it sort of snuck in, and we went, I think we're allowed to touch them, you know.
It's a really cliche thing of my Asian parents would pay for my engineering degree but not a design degree. So I'm like, you know what? Engineering sounds good.
Initially, I worked as a lawyer in Auckland, and then I became a lot more interested in innovation and technology, and got involved in technology accelerators in Wellington. And through that journey, it led me into doing venture capital in Singapore. Yeah, so I think along the way, I increasingly got pulled into the technology sector.
What I knew for myself is because I like playing like Counter-Strike and games, and I thought that I typed quite fast. That was just the reason. They're like, I think I could do IT.
I started doing web development to put myself through law school at night. And I got 4 years into a law degree before realising I really enjoyed web development.
I knew I was curious about the world. I knew I wanted to help people. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do exactly, and I almost thought engineering, you know, it didn't cut off my options.
The way we think, the way we speak to each other, and the way how we wrote code have some rules that they're similar. And that was just a revelation for me. And instantly I was so in a familiar space, somehow different from philosophy, but at the same time it was all like so similar.
As a teenager, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be whatever I was seeing, which I think is a bit of a challenge for students these days, because we're not exposed to what the world could be.
What did you imagine yourself being, doing?
I expected I would be an English teacher in high schools. And then I went to a bunch of university open days, learned about engineering because I was good at maths and physics, and I found robots and I was like, that's super cool, I want to study that. And so I did.
But when I talk to people now, especially in user experience Auckland, you know, I'm dealing with people like I studied fashion or I studied architecture, and I'm not too fussed with that. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, you can definitely do this stuff.
Anyway, he's like, so why did you apply for this role? And I just said, well, it didn't say you couldn't. And that was basically how I got into tech.
Stories of these amazing folks show how we can push boundaries, follow our passions, be present in spaces as minorities, and fight stereotypes. They represent a positive change within the tech industry, but there is still work to be done. If you'd like to be a part of this work, check out a few simple things in the description below.